October 10th, 2019. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 192 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Okay, we have the information that you've wanted.
Great.
We have the statistics. So the
I've been losing sleep over this.
Last few episodes, we've been talking about video poker and what is the most common way people hit the royal flush. Is it by holding 4 and drawing 1? Is it just being dealt that? You guessed that the most common way would probably be you're dealt 3 to the royal and you draw 2 cards.
Right.
So to figure that out, you'd have to figure out the probability of getting 3 to the royal along with the probability of then drawing to the royal, right?
Right.
Both things. And it turns out you were right, Dr. Mike.
Oh, very good.
Yep.
See, that was just empirical knowledge from playing years of video poker
and never having hit one. Yes. Yeah. Well, we got the information from Jim from New York and from listener Scott and from Tringlomain at the Vegas Message Board's website. And I was able to back this up with the Wizard of Odds calculations as well.
So it's confirmed correct.
It's confirmed. So here's how it breaks down. If you're playing jacks or better, people who make the royal will do so 6.2% of the time, it just being dealt to them.
Just it comes up.
Yeah, right. They don't have to draw any. 30.9% of the time, they will have been dealt 4 and drawn 1.
Okay.
And then the most common that you were talking about, 39.5% of the time, they will have been dealt 3 and draw 2.
So almost 4 out of 10 times they're
very
dealt
close.
3 and draw 2.
Mm-hmm. And then 19.6% of the time for being dealt 2 and drawing 3. 3.4% of the time holding 1 and drawing 4. And 0.3% of the time you'll discard all your cards and then be dealt a royal.
Yeah. Now, isn't that interesting? That's different than being just dealt 5. Now, I know there's more cards available to you when you haven't discarded anything.
Right, but keep in mind, you have to take into account the probability of being dealt 5 cards that you're going to get rid of. Right. That's the whole thing behind this.
Okay,
right?
so that's the kicker is what you're dealt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's
that makes sense.
Yep. You have to take both into account. But thanks to everyone who did the math. You were teasing me for not taking time to actually go through the math, which I didn't want to do because I knew it would take a long time and I'd probably mess up. And I have other things to do during my day.
You really don't, okay?
That's the answer. All right, well, let's move on. There's some interesting news coming from the poker world. Professional player Mike Postle has been accused of cheating in the live-streamed poker games at Stone's Gambling Hall near Sacramento. Now, these games are streamed over Twitch with a 30-minute delay. It's kind of like watching the World Series of Poker, the final table,
right.
where they delay it by 30 minutes so the players don't know what each other has. Right? Yeah, exactly. Now, there are technicians who get that information right away, right? The production people who are doing it.
Right.
But even the commentators, they're looking at a 30-minute delay, so they don't know what's happened.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're on that delay as well. Well, people started getting suspicious when Mike was making incredible decisions during his play, folding good hands when he was beat, playing weak hands strong when his opponent's hand was weaker.
Right.
He was always making the right decision.
Right decision.
Right. Yeah,
Be like a guy always, whenever he had 18 and hit, getting, 21.
Right. Yeah, something like that. He knows something's happening.
Right.
Now, if it were just that, it's like, well, okay, some poker players are really good, right?
Right.
But it was happening so much, and there were other things, other oddities too, including he only played in the live stream games. Well, like when he was done, he'd take his chips and leave. He wasn't playing in any other games. If you're a poker player and you're that good, you'd be playing all the time. Right?
I would, yeah.
Okay. Another thing, he won 62 out of 69 sessions.
Now, that right there is like the big... Who does that?
Yeah, exactly, right?
No matter how good a player you are, you can't do that.
No. And this was another thing, and there were more, but these were the ones that jumped out to me. He always had his mobile phone in his lap.
In his lap.
Other players would have it on the table or whatever. He'd always have it in his lap.
So that nobody but him could see it.
So There's no definitive proof. They don't know how he's doing it. We're actually recording this episode early because we're getting ready for the summit. We just need time to record and me to edit and everything. So maybe more news will come out by the time this episode posts. But right now, they don't know exactly how he's doing it. It could be that he's got a cohort, somebody on the production team.
That's most likely.
Who is sending him information. These cards for these streamed events, they have RFID chips in them, those radio frequency ID chips.
Right.
So that the production knows what people's hole cards are. They don't have to hold them up to a camera, right? They just use this RFID chip. Is he getting that right at the table? Is he doing that? I think it's more likely he's being fed information, but...
Well, he could be being fed. He could have hacked into the system somehow to get the information himself.
That's
like
true.
It goes to the production crew.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it just goes right to him.
Right to his phone,
Right to his phone, so he knows what
yeah.
people has. That'd be probably Ukrainian or Russian, hacking going on.
So it's the kind of thing where if it was only one thing... he had his phone in his lap, or it was, he only ever, but with all those things, it's pretty clear that he's cheating. Of course, we have no proof at this point, but the poker community pretty much agrees he's cheating, and it's
Somehow
just coming down
cheating.
to.
What if it turns out he's not? And he's just really, really good.
He's the greatest poker player of all time.
Yeah. Or what if it turns out he has somehow built a time machine?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And he can see in the future, and his future self is relaying him information about stuff going on then.
Yeah, but see, then if he changes what he's doing, then the future self is like on an alternate timeline, so maybe he's not getting the right information. I think your theory is ridiculous, Mike.
I don't know, Mark. If it comes out he has a time machine, remember, all it takes is plutonium and a lot of clocks.
That's true. Anyway, an ongoing story. So, do a search on it. I mean, the whole poker community is talking about it. That's the big news right now. So,
well, maybe by the next podcast, we'll have an update.
Probably. Yeah, that's true, right? There'll be something.
I'm rooting for Time Machine.
Okay. Yeah, I hope that. Me too, now that you say it out loud. All right. So, one of the pit bosses up at Harrah, Southern California had a question. Is that right?
Yeah, Brian, one of the pits up there, had a question for you that he gave to me on Saturday night because you weren't there.
Okay, yeah.
So basically his question is, he bets a lot of NHL hockey.
Okay.
And he said, I know how many games I need to win to break even if the point spread is minus 110.
Okay.
But he wanted to know if it was minus 120, minus 130, minus 140, minus 150, what percentage of games would he need to win to break even?
Okay. So yeah, let's talk about this for a second. So just very quickly, when you're betting sports bets like point spreads in football, typically, no matter which side of the point spread you're betting on, you're having to lay $11 to make $10. They call it minus 110. Right. Is the way they say it in America, right? That just means that you have to bet $110 to win 100. Right. You get your 110 back plus the 100 that you won.
Right. And if you lose, you lose 110.
Right. And that's how the sports book makes money. It's the VIG or the juice, right? So no matter which side you're betting on, it's minus 110.
Right. So they're going to win. That's how casinos ensure they're going to win on sports betting. And that's the reason they want equal betting on either side.
Right. So just real quickly then, let's say all your bets are minus 110. Okay. What would you have to do to break even? Well, every time you lose $110. And every time you win $100. That just means that for every 100 losses you have to win 110 times.
Right.
Okay. It's just as simple as that if that's minus 110. So of those 210 games, you have to win 110 of them to break even if you're playing a minus 110 line.
Right.
And that works out to about 52.4% of the games.
Right.
Okay. Same thing as you move up. If you're talking about minus 120, okay, you have to win 120 games to make up for the 100 losses that you're taking at minus 120.
Right. So now out of 220, you've got to win 120.
Right, exactly. And in that case, it's 54.6%. So now let's just keep going up. If all your bets are minus 130, you've got to win 56.6% of your games.
Right.
If all your bets are minus 140, you've got to win 58.3% of your games. And if it's minus 150, you've got to win exactly 60% of your games to break even.
So at minus 150, you've got to win 6 out of every 10 games you bet.
That's correct.
To break
even.
To break even.
Yeah. So There's the numbers for you, Brian.
Yep. And obviously, when he's betting NHL, he's going to say he bets 5 games some night. They're not all 150 or 140.
No, right. It's
a lot of them are going to be 110, and then you're going to have some 120s, 130s.
If he's betting hockey and he's not taking the puck line, then that could vary wildly. Minus 165, minus 200. Really will depend on the teams.
Right.
But so that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. So he's over a whole season, he could look at all the games he bet that are 110 and see what percent he won, and 120 and 125. There's all the increments, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep. On the last episode, we were talking about blackjack insurance and even money. And we had a caller who was a little upset that when he had blackjack, the dealer was showing an ace, and the dealer did not explicitly ask him if he wanted even money. Right? It's basically taking insurance when you have blackjack. And we heard from several people, some listeners, and in fact, one of the dealers Wendy out at Harrah, Southern California, right? She was saying that it's very typical to not specifically ask somebody who has blackjack if they'd like even money. That it's really up to them to either put out the insurance bet, which is very clear because then the eye in the sky can see it,
right?
Or just to ask for even money.
Yeah, she said they do not offer it, but when someone asks for it, they do honor it.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I guess it's more typical than we would have thought.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We never take insurance, so
that's why
we never ask for even money, right?
That's why we never think about it because we never take insurance.
Yeah. So anyway, good to get that cleared up a little bit. All right, so on Twitter, listener Eric mentioned a relatively new game. Maybe I'll say brand new game because I don't think it's in a lot of places. And even the Wizard of Odds, I want to say his entry was at least 2019. So a relatively new game called Super 3-Card. So you want to learn how to play it, Mike?
All right, give it to me. I hope this is one I'm going to like.
Okay, I don't know if you're going to like it, but I think it's pretty straightforward. We're going to talk about it. All right. So the object is to beat the dealer with a 3-card poker hand. Now, unlike regular 3-card poker, Super 3-Card is played with 6 or 8 decks of cards, not a single deck.
Wow. Okay.
So that's one thing. So the hands are ranked as follows. The best hand is a royal flush, which is ace, king, queen suited in 3-card poker.
Okay.
The next best hand is a suited 3 of a kind.
All right.
Which obviously you can't get in a single deck game, right?
Right. You're not going to get that in a single deck.
Then the next best hand, the rest of them go kind of like 3-card poker. Straight flush, an unsuited 3 of a kind, a straight, a flush, a pair, and then just high card. Okay. Right. So those are the ranks of the cards. So here's how you play. Before any of the cards are dealt, the player makes an ante-bet and an odds bet. They both have to be the same value.
Okay.
Right? Now the first round of cards are dealt. All cards are dealt face up for everybody throughout this game.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Well, that's different than normal 3-card.
Right. So each player gets 2 cards face up, and the dealer gets 1 card face up to start. Okay. Right. Once that happens, the player has the option to surrender or raise.
So surrender both his bets?
No. See, this is interesting. If he surrenders, it's like a fold. He only loses the ante-bet.
Okay.
The odds bet is returned.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
Right.
So far, I like that.
If the player decides to raise, they make an additional bet called a play bet. It's very similar to traditional 3-card poker, but they make this play bet that also has to be equal in value to the ante-bet. Okay. Once all those decisions have been made, the players each get 1 more card, and the dealer gets 2 more cards. Face up, right?
Okay.
If the dealer's hand beats the player's hand, the player loses all 3 bets. Play, ante, and odds, no matter how good the player's hand is. Sometimes if the player has a really good hand, like a straight, but then loses to a higher straight, like happened to you at 3-card poker at the D, you still get some kind of benefit. One of the bets at least pays something, right? There's like an anti-bonus bet.
Right.
But not in this case. No, if the dealer beats you, you lose all 3 bets. Okay. Now, if the player's hand beats or ties the dealer's hand.
Or ties.
Right? The play bet wins even money. Okay. The ante-bet wins even money. And the odds bet will get paid if the player's hand is at least jacks or better.
Okay.
And it will get paid more the better the hand is.
I gotcha.
Jacks are better.
So if it was a pair of 8s, don't get paid.
You don't get paid on that odds bet. The play bet wins, the ante bet wins,
wins.
and the odds bet is just a push.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So it has to be jacks are better. And the pay tables vary quite a bit. So, but as you go for a flush, you get paid a little bit more than even money, all the way up to a royal where you get a lot. And that's basically the game. So again, here are the significant differences between super 3-card and regular 3-card poker. Number one, we didn't really mention this, but the dealer doesn't have to qualify.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
That could work in your favor.
Right. Another thing is there's an additional required bet, the odds bet. You don't have to make that initial bet, initial required bet in regular 3-card poker. And it's played with multiple decks, usually between 6 or 8.
Okay.
And of course, there's side bets. There's one side bet that you can make where if your first 2 cards and the dealer's card makes some kind of hand, you get some payout.
Like
it's
if you
just
make
one
a
of those
straight
things,
or a flush or
Yeah,
something.
from that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and of course, high house edge there. So
that's good.
Yeah, super 3-card. So watch for that. Again, not many places, but
so that's just somebody who was watching 3-card poker and decided, okay, we can tweak this a little.
Yeah.
Add a bunch of decks so you can get 3.
Well, I think you'll probably agree with me, Mike. I don't like games where the dealer has to qualify for action
who
to happen,
does?
right? And it started with Caribbean Stud and 3-card poker. Yeah, I just don't care for that.
No, because
when you get
it always seems to hurt you.
Yeah, when you get your big hand, you have to have made a side bet to get paid on it, right?
Right.
In games like that.
Yeah, if they don't qualify, it's like, oh, God. Yeah. And then sometimes you have a crappy hand and they qualify, and you think, well, why isn't this the time they didn't qualify, right?
Yeah.
So having it always qualifying is good, because then there's nobody complaining about, did they qualify or when they qualified.
Yes, exactly. Good. I'll put a link to the Wizard of Odds page on this. He didn't have a basic strategy for it that I could see, but he did work out a house edge between 2 and 3%, if you're playing it right.
Yeah, the strategy might be a little complicated because, you're seeing only 2 of yours and 1 of the dealers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, there are a lot of combinations that can happen there. It might be fairly complicated.
You would think. If you had, let's say you had a pair of 10s.
I think if you have any pair, you're absolutely raising.
Right.
Come up with a better example.
Okay. Well, all right. Ace King. And the dealer has a jack.
Well, I'd say that's a raise situation without thinking about it. That's gotta be a raise.
I would think, but the dealer still has 2 cards, so he gets a pair of 2s.
No, well, but you've got a better chance of making a hand that'll beat him than the other way around, right?
Well, that's
in that
true.
situation, I guess
With 8 decks,
I know. Well, you're right. I don't know, but I'm thinking
with
like
1 deck, yes,
what
for
if
sure.
What if you've got 6, 7, and the dealer's showing a 3?
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you? Maybe that's, I don't know. Anyway, we're just guessing here without looking at the math.
It's 8 decks.
It's 8 decks.
That's what really throws a clincher in it, right?
That's true. There's way more ways for him to pair up or trip up.
Yeah.
And you're only seeing one of his cards. Yeah, that's true. We're just speculating. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first. You can bet on that.com and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's go to some voicemails. First up is Christian.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. Christian from Northern California here. I just wanted to call and give you a little update on Harrah's Northern California. It's a nice casino, kind of small, but they got all your usual games and stuff like that, especially getting used to, those dang card craps. It's been a hard adjustment, but so far I've liked it. One quick question I had, though, was I don't know if this is in California casinos, but Harrah's in Northern California, I've noticed that these slot machines there, they don't really have none of the fun ones. And by fun ones, I mean the TV ones, the Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, or even the Wheel of Fortunes and all those other machines. It mainly looks like they're just progressive machines. And I was just wondering if that's out in California or if that's just that Harrah's in Northern California. Nonetheless, it's a really nice casino, and I've been going up there quite often, and I really, really enjoy it. Another thing is I listen to you guys and Cousin Vito's Casino podcast, and you guys usually help me get through my work day, and I just rerun your guys' episodes all the time, just dreaming of a nice, big, long craps run. But lately, in your guys' trips, you haven't really been having any big wins, so just letting you know that I know the summit is coming up, and I'm not going to be able to go there, but just know that I'm going to be hoping for you guys to come back with a nice, big, maybe 14 fours, or you had $10 on a fire bet if you can find one, or shoot, maybe you hit the all small, tall 50 times. But just know I'm really hoping for one because you guys have been due. I haven't had one in a while. Okay, thanks, guys. Bye.
Well, thanks, Christian.
Yeah, thank you.
It's funny. We've been doing okay.
Yeah, we've been doing it. Well, a couple of nights ago, remember, I did get a 4 up to the house max, 2,500.
Oh, you did? No, you didn't tell me this.
Yeah, it was during the week. It was one of during the week.
Oh, nice. Did it
one
hit?
One of those nights. No, it didn't hit. But no, it hit at 2,000.
Okay.
And I went to 25, the house max. It didn't hit again.
Oh.
But if it hit, I was going to take the 10 right to 25.
Sure, of course.
I was going to take 25 and put 25 on the 10. But we've had some decent wins.
But nothing, no big stories. It's true. We haven't been able to tell. And I guess one of the reasons is, when we go to Vegas or Atlantic City, well, there's the all tall small and the repeater.
Right.
Those were the interesting stories come
from. Hey, we hit the
so.
fire bet 3 times one night a couple weeks ago.
That's true. All fours.
All fours, but we did hit
it
3 times.
That's true. I know.
And we were marked on the 5th number twice, I think, out of those.
I think you're right.
Didn't get it.
Other nights, nobody can make a point. 1 point.
Right. I'm hoping that when we come back, we have a story about the all tall small hitting 3 times by the same shooter.
Same shooter, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. Can you imagine?
I think the most we've had is 2.
We've had 2. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Hi, everybody. Mark here, breaking into the show to answer Christian's question about slot machines in California, which when I was editing the show, I realized Mike and I did not answer when we originally recorded. So anyway, no, there's nothing in California that says slots have to be a certain way. We see all the most popular new slots, certainly at Harrah, Southern California, where we go, and other casinos that we've seen. So not sure why Harrah's Northern California doesn't have some of the newer and more popular slots. So, not sure. All right, back to the show. All right, next up, Eamon.
Hey guys, Eamon from Los Angeles here. Went to Vegas a couple weeks ago for some college football betting and some recreational gambling. I had talked with a coworker before I went, and he doesn't really know a lot about college football, and I sort of showed him the games that I was eyeing, and he gave me $100 and said, just parlay it all, even though he doesn't know anything about college football, and he was using my bets, and it was just 4 bets, but he parlayed them, $100 bet to win $600, so I was able to bring $700 back for him, so that was a really great feeling, even though he didn't tip me. We ended up staying on the Strip, but we always try to make it downtown, and we had heard that Derek Stevens likes to sit and hang out on the weekends at the Long Bar at the D, so we took our chances. We went in, and sure enough, he was sitting there, and we decided to introduce ourselves, tell him we're big fans of VSiN, which is his sports betting streaming platform thing. Told him we're excited for Circle Las Vegas and the sports book that he's building, and he was super nice. He ended up buying us drinks, or probably rather just giving them to us. And he actually just gave us some match play, and we got to hang out with him for 20, 30 minutes and just talk about the state of gambling and sports betting. So it was a really great experience. The following day, we went over to New York. Craps went really well there. We walked way up quite a bit. However, there was one player standing next to us, and every time any shooter would establish a point that was a 4 or 10, he'd make a lay bet and start chanting 7, 7. It was annoying a lot of people, but whatever. We decided to take our winnings and go into the high limit room there. Now, we know it's not the Bellagio or the Wynn, but the tables were only $100, so we played there in the high limit room at New York, and we're able to get some much nicer drinks that they're not going to offer on the casino floor. So that was really good. And then our final stop, we went over to MGM Grand. Been there a lot of times, but you forget how big that floor is. They have different pits with different odds and rules. So we were playing $50 and $100 hands as usual at a 6 to 5 table. Please don't lecture me about it. And the pit boss came up and was like, "Hey guys, if you're playing $50 or $100 hands, why don't you go to the tables on the other side of the floor where they're actually 3 to 2 and the dealers stand on soft 17. So we thought that was really nice of him, to give us a heads up and make sure we're being taken care of. And we decided to check out the high limit room at MGM Grand. Now, we knew that would probably be out of our price range, but it was a sort of a shocking experience. The minimum we saw at the blackjack table was $500, and that was full, so there was no chance of getting on that. The MGM Grand high limit room is beautiful. I mean, it's just one of the nicest places I've ever been in. And there was a bunch of tables that said reserved with dealers sitting there and nobody playing. And we were like, all right, that's weird, but whatever. And so then we went back to our regular table and asked our dealer what's up with that. And she said, we just staff those just in case our high limit players come in because they'll play $100,000 hands. So a world we'll never be a part of, but interesting to see nonetheless. All right. Thanks. Have a good one.
All right. Good. Yeah. Thanks, Eamon.
Yeah. It's funny because that guy bets a 4 and lays it, it's chance 777.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, jack wipe, jack wipe, jack wipe, jack wipe, jack wipe, getting louder and louder.
Yeah, when the 4 comes up, jack wipe. That's a great story, though, about a pit boss actually saying, hey, there's a better game you could be playing, right?
Well, that's good business, too.
I think so. I don't know if, MGM Corporate would agree the way they are. But, that's great. I love to hear that story.
That's a good pit boss, really looking out. And Derek Stevens, one of the nicest people.
Very approachable. Many times he's sitting there at his video poker seat at Long Bar.
Right.
And just come up to him. I will say this. On one podcast, he talked about how he shakes so many hands during the day that at night he has to soak his hands in ice. So I would suggest, now he didn't say this, but I'm thinking
fist bump him.
Just fist bump him and going up instead of giving him a big old handshake like that.
Save his hands.
Yeah, very approachable.
Yeah, he's very nice. And he's also just around.
That's what I mean, right? Yeah.
Walking
you see him
around
in the casino. Yeah,
just walking around. What other casino can you say, oh, there's the owner?
Not these
days. You think
Steve's
wins walking around,
Not these days. Yeah. And then, Eamon's friend didn't tip him for.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Bet.
If I give a guy $100 and he brings me back 7, I just give him 100, right?
Yeah, really.
He's still up quite a bit of money. It's like, oh, thanks for the effort.
Yeah,
especially picking it. Those parlays are not easy.
No, they're not.
No. We should have parlayed all of our games this weekend.
Well, not all of them, but I'll tell you, Mike went 9-1 on college football on Saturday.
Yeah, and the one I missed was just a field goal at the very end of the game. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, can you imagine if we parlayed the 9 winners?
The 9 winners, yeah. We would have had to do some kind of round robin. Well, go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back, but then punch yourself in the face for your NFL picks, especially in our podcast superiority pool.
And what's funny is I start off the day, I'm like 4 for 4, but none of those are the podcast superiority.
No, that's just bets we've made, yeah.
That's just bets we've made. And then at the end, when I have the podcast superiority, we win 1 out of 3. Yep. And the one we won is I took the Broncos to beat the Chargers because I knew they would. I mean, that was a given.
Well, it was against the spread, so they were getting 6.5 points. The Broncos were, and they still beat them.
If the Chargers win, they win by a point or 2. I mean, it's going to be that close. Yeah. So, of course, I bet on the Broncos with 6.5 points. And then I knew deep down, Chargers are going to lose that game.
All right, good for you. At least we got some points in that pool thanks to you betting against the Chargers.
Well, Kansas City, I'm sorry, but what the hell happened to them?
Yeah, that was our big one. That was our 3-pointer.
That was our 3-pointer, and they looked terrible.
Yeah, it was awful.
Absolutely terrible. Yeah. At home against a Colts team that lost their quarterback before the season even started.
Yeah, all right.
I know the Colts play good defense, and kudos to them, but there's no way that Kansas City should have lost that game.
All right, well, see if you can make up for yourself.
I'm going to have to. Yeah, I'm going to have to go like the next 4 weeks, 3 for 3.
Yeah, we've got a ways to go.
Yeah, 3 for 3. Yeah. I'm just letting all these other podcasters know I'm coming after them.
I'm sure they're shaking in their boots. All right, next call.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Chris from Round Rock, Texas. Just got back from a 3-night stay in Vegas, staying at the Tropicana, and gambled at a few of the little roll-up places around there. We like to go to Ellis Island. We actually did a little bit at the former Hooters or Oyo. I went downtown. We love Main Street Station. Well, my buddies, we grew up together. I usually play a lot of craps, but they're not big craps players, so I ended up playing a lot more blackjack on this trip. And one thing that we just noticed is just some dealers are just so much better than others. Some just seem to enjoy their job, make it more fun for you. I guess that's not to be unexpected in every line of work. Some people are better at their jobs than others, but it just really made a difference when they were talking, joking around, you having fun. It's made for an all-around enjoyable experience, and of course, we tip those people a lot more. So one thing that I did not like when I was playing craps, when I was playing Ellis Island, I often make hardway bets for the dealers or pass line bets, and every single time, immediately they would thank me. Whether it won or lost, they would thank me at the end. And then a couple places I made bets. I think once was at the Tropicana, and it actually hit. It was a hardway that hit, and didn't say thank you. A couple times that happened, and I was just, gosh, it makes me not want to tip you again. Maybe they missed it, but I figure if it hits, they would have noticed that. So I don't know. Just like I said, some people are a little more positive. Some people are better than jobs than others, and that's maybe every line of work. Had a great trip. Won a little bit of money. Game on football, and can't wait to go back. All right, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, it's like you said on the last episode, Mike. Right?
Yeah, it's one of my 3 things. Mm-hmm. And I might give a guy one chance
to thank you for a tip.
Yeah, if he didn't thank me that time, I might still tip him again. I make 2 tips and there's no thank you.
Yeah, win or lose. Yeah.
Yeah, why tip?
I agree. We had a similar experience at Ellis Island. They were just great, very personable and nice. I think we kind of overwhelmed them.
They were engaging. They were very engaging.
But very nice. And they were thanking for tips. They were very thankful. We haven't played in Tropicana for a long time, so I don't know. But no, it's true. We've said it before, especially with craps. There aren't a lot of differences when it comes to rules. So we base, whether we're going to play there or not on how nice the crew is, how good the crew is.
Well, Saturday night, I was talking with one of the players at Harrah Southern Cal, and we were talking about going to the summit. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Where are you staying?" I said, "Caesars." I don't really care to stay at Caesars. And I said, "Oh, really? Why?" He said, "I just don't like the crap dealers there." Mm-hmm. And he said, "I'll go to the other Harris properties and get treated really nice, but I go to Caesars." And this is a guy who bets pretty heavy. And he said, they're not even interested in my play. Mm-hmm. If I'm not betting, 10,000 on a number or something, they're not interested. They're just talking amongst themselves. And it is true.
It's hit or miss at Caesars.
It's very hit or miss.
I agree. There's plenty of times I don't like playing there for the same reason.
Yeah, you'll get some nice dealers occasionally, but a lot of those guys, and I know a lot of them have been there a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely an older crew in general there.
And maybe they're a little more
jaded
or just, burn out on jobs and everything. Yeah. But you go to a place like Planet Hollywood, they're rooting for you. Yeah. They're talking, and it's a much more enjoyable experience.
Yep. Yeah.
So if you're going to lose, right. which is going to happen, at least hopefully you're enjoying yourself. Yep. And if you're sitting there and you're listening to them chat about their real estate investments, which happened to me the last time, and they had this big whole discussion about their real estate investments, and sometimes I had to remind them, "Oh, I actually get paid here."
That's right. Yeah. All right. Next up is Will.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Will from Kansas. I am a regular at some of the casinos here in Southeast Kansas and Northeast Oklahoma. I hear you guys saying a lot, and a lot of people on the podcast saying that there are antes everywhere on craps and card games in Northeast Oklahoma. Well, there's actually 3 casinos that offer craps and table games in Northeast Oklahoma: Buffalo Run, Downstream Casino, and Indigo Sky Casino. If you are a member with a player's card, you do not have to pay an ante at all for those games. It's ante-free. So I've played quite a few times in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and they all do require an ante for every come-out roll. The dealers are really awesome in those 3 casinos. Some of them are a little bit newer, but still nice and cordial. They're good playing atmospheres. Usually the tables aren't packed. Some of them even have a $3 minimum. So pretty cool. It's usually a $5 table. Sometimes Downstream has 2 tables open, $5 and $10 minimum. So there are places you can play in Oklahoma as well as in Kansas without having to pay that ante. So hopefully more people start coming up this way, and I can hang out and play some craps with you guys. Bye.
Dr. Mike, you can silence your phone.
Yes.
You can still work with it, but you can still silence it. And ding! That was Mike.
That little button on the side to silence it.
You can't get in there?
I can't get in there.
All right. Well, thanks for the call, Will. Yes, we have talked about the ante situation in Oklahoma quite a bit. In fact, for a while there, we were talking it to death. So if you go back and listen to some previous episodes, you can hear us talking about the reason for it and what they do. But yeah, if you do your homework, you can find ante-free games, table games in Oklahoma where you don't have to pay the ante.
Now, how do they get around that?
Well, that's supposedly how the casino is making their money.
Right.
So they don't have to charge the ante. That's technically how the casino makes the money, because all the winnings from the game go into this players pool.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
Right,
and everything's on the up and up, and I'm sure everything's fine. So, it's really up to the casino.
So if they don't charge nanny and they were only making money that way, how would they be making money?
Oh, cocktails and vending machines. And,
shows.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Charge at the garage to park.
Right. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. All right. Next call.
Hey guys, this is Frank Austin. New listener to your show. Been binging, getting caught up almost recent. But I just wanted to give you a quick update. Finally got over to the new Encore Casino here in Everett. I had been dying to go for a long time. Finally got out there in early August for a bachelor party. It was me and 7 other guys. When we got there, they have the red card window, so you can go over and sign up for the rewards program. And at the time, it was $50 free credit for slots for signing up. So we got the red card. 5 of the guys went over to the buffet.
Me and a friend of mine didn't really want to shell out the money. I think it was $50 for all you can eat for 2 hours. So we went over to the slots. I think I sat at Dancing Drums. And pretty quickly, probably within an hour or so, I was up at least $220 at one point. My friend, similar boat, probably like $100. And I hit like 3 mini jackpots. The machine just seemed to really be really hot. My friend had a very similar experience. So I wanted to get your take. We figured this out pretty quickly, but it made sense once the machine was on that first free credit, first $100, put your red card in there, and first visit to the new casino. They want the payout to be really high so that you win a little bit of money, feel like you're having a good night, spend some more of that money back out on the floor once you're done with slots, which is exactly how it played out. But we tested our theory when it was done to say they sat down at the Wheel of Fortune, and within the first few minutes, my friend hit 2 of the big spins up top, where you look big physical wheel spins. And people who had been sitting at these machines for a while hadn't even seen one in over an hour, and he hit 2 very quickly. Same thing, once his free credit was gone, machine sort of went back to normal. Anyway, all of us were up a decent amount, so we hit the roulette wheel. We're a little shaky, first time ever putting that much money down. Encore right now is a little bit too expensive for my taste. I think the minimums were 25 that night. Some tables were even 50. I really hope as it gets further into next year, they drop some of those table minimums. It'd be nice to see some $5 or $10 tables. I wanted to play craps, was way too intimidated. Maybe next time, got to listen to a little bit more of your podcast. But I went back there recently, about 2 weeks ago, with the same group. Played some Let It Ride, and it was fun firsthand. I had, I think, $100 down on the table, $15 table minimums. Telling my friend standing behind me how to play, and I said, so basically what you want, and I threw them my cards into my scene, and I had 3 jacks. So I obviously let that one ride, and that was a good way to go up on the night, and actually ended up breaking even that night, but it was well worth the fun, and it's a beautiful facility.
And he got cut off there at the 3-minute mark. Frank, we're glad that you won. We're glad that you and all your friends won on the slots. But no, the slots are not set up to pay more if you're a new player or if you've got free play.
Come on, Mark. Of course they're set up that way. What business wouldn't want you to win the first time you're there and have a good experience so you'd come back and get hammered?
You can't make a generalization over 1 session or 2 sessions or even 10 sessions. And of course, if the casino were doing this, advantage players would find a way to take advantage of it.
Right.
Come in, hire people to be new players and, play a little bit, et cetera, et cetera. But no, you got lucky. We're glad you did, but no, that's not a thing.
Well, in like the grocery business, they have a lost leader usually.
Sure, right.
So they'll make an ad and they'll sell something where they actually lose money on it, but it gets you into the place. So that's what he's thinking about.
Sure.
Because that's done in a lot of businesses.
Of course, and even in the olden days, that's what casinos would do with their shows and their restaurants and everything.
Right. Uh-huh.
Those would be their lost leaders.
Those are their lost
Not today,
leaders.
really, especially on the strip.
Steak and eggs for 99 cents. That's your lost leader. You get him in there, and then the guy drops $25 in a slot machine, right?
So we know what you're saying, but it's not the case here when it comes to
usually
slots.
Not in this day and time.
Yes, yeah.
I just miss the days when you could go and get cheap Cocoa Puffs and not buy anything else. Just take advantage of the Cocoa Puffs 2 for $1.
At the store?
Yeah, at the store.
Okay.
Or the casino, one or the other.
I guess I miss those days too.
Well, remember I always tell that story when I was waiting in line, the girl I was with and her friend were waiting in line to get the 99-cent steak and egg breakfast downtown at Binion's at the Horseshoe. Right. And I went and played craps and won $12,000.
Yep, it worked out. It worked out better for them.
Hammered them on the lost leader.
Yeah, but they lost $2 on their breakfast.
On their breakfast,
yeah. All right. Well, last episode we talked about the Roll to Win craps machine coming to Harrah's Cherokee. It's official now, and Doug has some details.
Nice.
Hi, this is Doug from North Georgia. I'm calling to report on the future of craps. The first functioning Roll to Win craps machine is operating in Cherokee, North Carolina, of all places. After 40 years of playing craps, I wanted to hate it, but it was a pleasure. The tub is 11 feet long and lights up with 10 betting stations around. There are flat screens at each station, 2 foot by 1 foot, with a table layout for making the bets. With only 5 people on each side, there's plenty of elbow room, and nobody can squeeze in. Everyone playing gets their turn to shoot, and there's a stick man to make the calls and input the roll. There are no chips. So, no delays to make change or color up, no delays for payouts, top bets, horn bets, or hard ways, and no arguments over payouts or missing bets. What a pleasure. The table surface is plastic, so the sound and bounce, you need to get used to it, but it seems to be fair. When I was playing, all stations were full, and the house was getting a solid 2 rolls per minute. There is some software I think they need to change, but they're just rolling this out, so hopefully they'll figure it out. The betting timer is too short after the come-out roll. There's only 2 times odds, so that's a problem. And biggest problem is only 1 tier credit for every $200 bet, like a slot machine that has a little counter that shows you how you're doing, and I think I was averaging about 5 tier credits an hour, so worthless. I hope these issues get fixed as Harrah's Cherokee learns how to operate the table. But all the players there were whooping it up just like at a regular craps table. Everybody enjoyed the experience, and I'd have to say, I'll play it again. Thanks a lot for the show. Really enjoy it. Keep up the good work. Out.
Good. Thanks, Doug, for all that info.
What he didn't say, though, was what are the table limits?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I wonder
they
what
might
the table limits were on that.
I would guess lower, but maybe not. Yeah, it depends on how crowded it is.
Yeah.
One thing that we assumed last time, and apparently is not true, is that a player like you would have more time to bet than compared to a shoot-to-win craps machine. But it sounds like there still is a timer. So it's not up to the stick person to determine when it's going to go. Once the timer's done,
I just really think that these things... I mean, I know it saves on labor, and the casino's all about saving on the labor. But it seems to me like you wouldn't get as many bets. Like at Harrah's Rincon, there's a lot of action in the middle.
Yeah.
And me personally, I wouldn't have enough time to make all my bets.
No. Well, it's not like they got rid of all their regular craps tables, right? This is just it's an alternative.
It's a no.
It can make money. I'm really anxious to play one. I'd love to play it. I had said that I thought one had opened up at the link, but it turns out several listeners let us know that it's not a roll-to-win craps table. It's a craps table that has lights on it that will light up the winning bets after a roll. But otherwise, it's a regular craps table.
So it's still played with chips.
Yes, exactly. And the listeners also said it breaks down quite a bit. I mean, you can still play there, but like the lights aren't working or whatever. So I guess that's what I heard about.
Another thing I wonder about this roll-to-win craps is if I want to buy in for $5,000, I mean, do I got to feed in a bunch of $100 bills?
Yeah, maybe. Or you have to go get a voucher.
Go get a voucher from the cage and put that all in.
Look, I mean, it's not for you, Mike. All right, let's just say this right now, okay? I'm looking forward to playing it. I'd like to play it and see.
But
I'll
play it for a few seconds.
It's not for you. Yeah, exactly.
It's just that getting all your bets, and you got to be computer savvy. So for the older crowd. Well, it might be a little hard.
I don't know about computer savvy, but you have to be used to working with a terminal sure, something like that.
Versus just saying your things. Yeah. And what about a new person learning? Would it be harder or easier on a game like that?
Well, I would guess it's easier because it kind of is easier on shoot to win.
Yeah.
And it's not like you need to roll the dice. I assume you can pass the dice just like any other regular craps table.
And what about learning the correct amount to put on you're placing the 6. If some guy just places it for, I'm going to place it for, $14.
Yeah, it would probably accept that bet. It would probably round to the pennies.
And it probably wouldn't, but then the person wouldn't really know what it pays.
Well, okay. I guess I'll back up on that. Shoot to win craps might not necessarily be good for teaching you the game, specifics like that.
Right.
But it gets you familiar with the mechanics of the game.
Right. That would help.
And that in a less stressful
environment. And maybe smaller. If the limits were less, I mean, maybe it's $1, right?
It could be, yeah. That's
true. That would be easy for someone to play, even if they weren't getting correct payouts, putting $1 on a 6.
Sure, as long as they're rounding to the penny.
Paid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. All right, next call.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike, it's Neil from Riverside. Hey, I've been going through your old catalog, started at the beginning. I'm in most of the way down to 2014 at this point. Just wanted to tell you an old story from a trip to Las Vegas where we were staying at Bill's Gambling Hall, now known as the Cromwell. I first learned it as Barbary Coast. This was back when I played a lot of 3-card poker. And right in the proliferation of the 6-card sucker bet there, I don't know exactly what they called it, but I said, let me try this, wanting to experience all the different bets that I could. And we sat down, And we had a particularly snotty dealer, and I made that $1 bet, and no one was really happy with this guy. But lo and behold, I make the bet. You guys know the 6-card sucker bet is your 3 cards plus the dealer's 3 cards. And I remember I made a flush with clubs, but he had just by rotely went through and mucked all the cards because I didn't have a winning 3-card poker hand. And I said, hey, wait a second, I think I won that bet. And sure enough, he called the pit over and flipped them back over one by one by one by one by one. All 6 cards splayed out there, a 6-card flush. And it paid pretty well. I can't remember exactly what the payoff was. This was probably a decade ago. But it was really fun to stick it to a kind of a bad dealer. And he definitely wasn't happy. And I just colored up at that point, walked away happy, and kept walking down the strip. So thanks so much for you guys' time. Love what you guys are doing. Super fun going through the catalog. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Kind of like what we were talking about earlier,
right?
You know, having a good crew or a good dealer. And you just know that this dealer, when Neil said, hey, wait, you know, I had a flush, the dealer's probably mad then.
He's fuming inside.
Right? And then he's backing it up. And then when he sees that he's wrong, you know this type of dealer, right? He doesn't feel bad. He's even more angry.
He's even more angry that he wasn't right.
And he's not mad at himself, right? He's mad at Neil for making the bet.
And pointing out that he screwed up.
I'll tell you, years ago, I was playing at Golden Nugget. You were not there. I was pretty young at the time. I was in my 20s. And it was like double odds, right? It was back in those days. And there was this real grouchy dealer who was on my side of the table, right? The point was 5. The shooter made the 5, and he paid my odds even money. I had $10 back there, and he paid even money. And I said, oh, you know, you paid me wrong. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at the bet. He said, the payout's correct, sir. That's how he said it, right? And I said, $10 for $10? And then he looked, gave me the extra nickel, but you just know he's angrier then, right? Instead of feeling bad, you know, I colored up and left. And
he was thinking, this idiot young guy.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what he's thinking.
I'm an idiot for screwing up.
Right, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Yeah, nope, I do know what I'm talking about.
I miss Barbary Coast.
Do you?
Yeah, I used to like Barbary Coast.
I guess. I didn't spend much time there, to be honest.
What was behind the Barbary Coast? Do you remember?
No.
The Maxim. Yeah, we stayed at the Maxim.
That's right.
Once.
I remember that. Yeah, it was like our 3rd or 4th trip to Vegas.
Yeah, we stayed at the Maxim.
Yeah,
it was kind of like close enough to the strip, but not really on the strip.
Yeah, that's right. It was off to the side.
It was behind
I think I've got a
Coast.
Maxim chip still.
Do you really?
Yeah. I remember that trip vividly, Mike. I had a cold.
Yeah.
And Bob Bennett and I went to see George Burns at Caesar's Palace.
Really?
Thank you. That's how old I am.
Now, who's this George Burns guy?
Yeah. Look, Google it, folks. Google it.
Oh, I would have loved to see George Burns. I never saw him live.
Yeah, that was something else.
I liked him.
Yeah.
I can't believe you and Bob went.
I know. Bob Bennett. What a great guy Bob Bennett was. Wasn't he a great guy?
Bob Bennett was a great guy.
God, I remember he was so deadpan.
Yeah.
I was playing.
He was very deadpan.
We were playing at Maxim, and I had this great crab system, right?
Yeah.
And it was going real well for me. And the point was 4, and the table was real raucous, and Bob was behind me just watching. You know, he wasn't playing, but everybody's, come on, 4, come on, little Joe, and everybody's screaming, Joe. Finally, the shooter rolls a 4, and everybody, yeah, and Bob turns to me and says, Joe.
That sounds like Bob.
Just so, kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And
what I remember best about Bob Bennett was we went on a trip, a bunch of guys. You were not there, and we went to one of those fake skydiving places.
Oh, yeah.
Where there's a big fan that blows you up.
Yeah.
And Bob put on that suit, and him and Paul look so goofy in that suit. And, they're both kind of serious kind of guys. And they're floating in the air above that thing, kind of like, with a look on their face like, I'm going to die.
They're kind of wobbling, right? It's not like it's a smooth.
No, they're kind of like, I'm going to die when this thing shuts off and I fall 2 stories to the ground.
All right, last call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Jordan from Bend, Oregon. I had emailed you guys before about my upcoming trip to Vegas. Well, you just got here my first night staying at Harrah's. I had a pretty good night last night. I went down and first started playing Fortune Pie Gal Poker, which I played $5 on the fortune bet. about 20 minutes in, I hit 4 aces for $125 on that $5 fortune bet. And then the very next hand, I hit a straight flush for $250 on that $5 fortune bet. So feeling pretty good about myself. I walked up over to the craps table, saw a few other dealers wearing Colts jerseys, which I'm a big Colts fan, so I felt that was some good vibes going there, and decided to throw $50 on the 10, bought it for 50, and the guy hits it on the next roll. So I pressed it up to 100, and the guy hit it twice after that again. So at the end of the night, I lost a little bit playing some other things, but up about $650 for the night. Had a great first night in Vegas, and I'll maybe give you another update at the end of the trip. Thanks. Have a good one.
Okay, well, good. Hopefully the luck
I hope the
keeps
second
up.
half goes as good
maybe
as the
we'll
first.
hear from him next time. Well, like I said earlier, we are recording this earlier than normal because I just need a little time to edit the show and, get it all ready.
We've got a lot going on this week.
Right.
We've got to prep ourselves for Vegas.
That's right. So
I got to get rid of this ridiculous beard.
Yeah, boy, that's filled in, hasn't it? It's fluffy. Yeah.
You think I should keep it or what?
Yeah, I think you should keep it. So this episode is going to drop as we're on our way to Vegas, or maybe a couple hours before we actually hit the road. So it's possible that people who are going to the summit may not actually hear this episode till after the summit. But if you're hearing this before the summit, don't forget the Better Life has scheduled a craps meetup for that Friday, October 11th at 12:30 in the afternoon at Golden Gate. So we hope to see you there, and otherwise follow us on Twitter. We'll let you know where we are, and we hope to see you at the summit. And,
I hope to see everybody playing craps with us.
Yeah, that'll be great. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, recurring donation from Kurt. Thanks very much. A donation from Carson. Karma donation for the summit. Hope to see you guys there. All right, good. Carson, we'll see you this weekend. Also, a donation from Jeff from Wisconsin. Love the show. Karma donation for an upcoming trip to Vegas with John, Julie, Adam, Melissa, and my new fiancée, Mandy. Oh, well, congratulations, Jeff.
Yep.
And finally, a donation from John. Karma donation for a Vegas trip next month. Your show is fun, educational, and really helps with that at-work boredom. Thanks.
Seems like a lot of people are bored and listen to us. I don't know if that helps or hurts.
That's good. Something to do. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program that searches through all the raw American TV data. Just go to youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review on us. We love getting your feedback. Dr. Mike, do you have something here for the end of the show?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the Padres for a second.
What?
Yes.
The season's over.
I know it's over. That's why I want to talk about it.
All right.
They stunk, Mark.
Yeah.
At the All-Star break, they were a 500 team.
You've said that,
and
yes.
I had hopes that things were going to go good, and they just stunk it up in the second half. Yep. So they fired their manager because, obviously he's the problem. Not that I'm a big Green fan, but
he was fine.
He was
whatever,
fine. Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank everybody who makes bets for us on the Padres, but stop doing that. Stop doing that, please. It's just wasted money. Oh my God, they're never going to win, Mark. I'm getting too close to death.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, at least you still have the Chargers.
I still am a Charger fan because they won.
Yeah, they beat Miami.
They beat Miami.
Couldn't beat Denver, but they beat Miami. Yeah,
they couldn't beat the 0-4 Denver Broncos, but they were able to beat the 0-4 Miami Dolphins.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
so.
that was. They did a good job there. They even covered, if I remember.
Yeah, right. They covered. So I just wanted to mention that because it eats at me every day.
Okay, all right. Well,
meanwhile, we're going to wear Padre hats the whole time.
We are going to wear Padre hats in honor of Al from San Diego, who we miss. That's going to be.
I don't want anyone to confuse that with thinking that the Padres are, are worth wearing their hat.
We're going to be wearing those in memory of Al, and the parade from the Golden Gate to the D has been renamed the Al from San Diego Parade. So
I do like that it's it's
that.
Al from San Diego. Not
That's right.
just Al.
Yeah,
it's Al from San Diego.
The guy we never, ever met in San Diego. We only ever saw him in Las Vegas.
Right. We only saw him in Vegas.
Yeah, we miss you, Al.
Even though his parents lived walking distance from my office.
You could. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Oh, sweet mother, I love you, Dr. Mike.